What is up, Crimson Tide Nation and Auburn Nation? It's your good buddies, Jackson Johnson from Alabama at the Voice of College Football, and Blake Lane from Auburn at the Voice of College Football, and SEC at the Voice of College Football, as we go over a preview of the 2025 edition of the Iron Bowl between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama, on November 29th, 2025. And let me tell you something, folks. You're going to be in for a wild ride. How you doing today, good buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. And, we were talking a little bit before we got on about the history of this rivalry and just the electric finishes, the intensity of the fan bases. You get on social media, and there's never a dull moment between Alabama and Auburn fans. And that is why I think it is the greatest rivalry in college sports. And it has actually started to carry over to basketball on the hardwood. And you even see tempers flare up, on the diamond in baseball. And you've seen it get a little hostile in softball here, So I mean, it's all around in every sport, Jackson. It's a hostile rivalry, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I think what's great about the rivalry is there's a respect factor in there, and it's Auburn knows the history of Alabama and the two greatest coaches in college football history, and I think Alabama respects Auburn and the history of Pat Dye and Bo Jackson and the great players that Auburn's had, and the
Pat
seasons,
Sullivan.
Pat Sullivan, and the seasons where Auburn has, they weren't supposed to be that good, and they come out and in 2004 and they go undefeated and they get snubbed to play in the national championship game, and then you've got the great Iron Bowl games, the kick six, and all this. Alabama having the Mill Row Miracle, the Grave Digger, and all this stuff. I think there's a mutual respect between the two, man, and I think that's what makes it so great.
Well, and I've noticed that like the 2020s for the Iron Bowl just feels kind of similar from like 1971 to 1981, where Auburn won only once in that time, because of course it being punt, Bama punt, no points from offense or defense, but only on special teams. That was just nuts. But like the 2020s, no win for Auburn against the Crimson Tide, but close calls, but no cigar. And it's all been in Auburn. And the last time the Alabama Crimson Tide has defeated Auburn by double digits was 2015, and part of that was Will Muschamp losing it on the refs. And when that happened, it was basically 11 months before the founding of TikTok. That's nuts,
Man. I think no matter with the rivalry, no matter the records or the talent on each side, a lot of these dudes, they grow up and they play each other coming up, and I think it carries over into the Iron Bowl. And I think when you have these guys even from out of state, I think they have to learn the rivalry and they have to learn the tradition of both programs. And you bring up those years, and that's right before Pat Dye comes over, and he really changed Auburn. And rest his soul, man. I think he is one of the greats of ever grace Auburn, and he really turned Auburn into something truly special. And Bo Jackson, and that's when it felt like Auburn started to kind of get rolling, is when Bo went over the top and they finally got Alabama, and that's just talking about the rivalry, man. And I think for me, everybody wants to put the game up there, Jackson, and they want to say Ohio State and Michigan. But one thing that's great about Alabama and Auburn is if you've lived in this state, and I'm 34 years old, I've spent every day in the state of Alabama, man, and I can tell you this: you truly don't understand this rivalry unless you live here and you've embraced it and you've just have to live with it every day. I mean, they made a documentary about it, and Paul Feinbaum said that it's like the Israelites and the Palestinians living amongst each other for 364 days, man. Like that's what it's like, and so I think it's great, and I think it's number one in my book.
There's one problem with the documentary.
What is
They
that?
need to update a part 2. That's the only problem. They need to do a yearly update on it.
They really do, man, because it is, it's just people take it that serious because I think I watched Cam Newton's podcast one day, and they kind of asked him, you being from Georgia, how did you view the Iron Bowl? And he said that Gene Chizik told him that the 4 most important people in the state of Alabama was the head coach at Alabama, the head coach at Auburn, the quarterback at Alabama, and the quarterback at Auburn. And so he said at that point he realized, like, I'm a big deal. I'm a big deal, and so that's just how much it means, man. It's like it's not the governor of Alabama, it's not the mayor of Mobile or anything like that. No, it's those 4 guys. It's the Bear Bryants, the Nick Sabans, the Pat Dyes, man. The Gus Malzahn's that was at Auburn for a nice little stretch. So that's what it means to folks.
Oh yeah. Well, and that brings us to the next point is the quarterback positions and pretty much everybody on offense for Alabama and Auburn. And it seems like Auburn's having a problem trying to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. Like, or at least that's what we're hearing. But I think it's leaning towards Jackson Arnold. But we know who's going to be quarterback by the time we get to the Iron Bowl. No doubt about that.
Well, Jackson, I think the thing with Auburn is I think Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback, and I expect him to be at Baylor next Friday night. And so I think the problem here is you go and you get a security blanket with Ashton Daniels, who played a lot of P4 football, and he was the starting quarterback at Stanford a year ago. And you go and get a guy that could maybe push Jackson Arnold, because did Jackson Arnold have that at Oklahoma? We know the situation he was in. I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse. But did he have that guy behind him at Oklahoma that could push him and say, hey, I've been a starter. If you don't play well, I'm here to take your job. Then you also go get a 5-star quarterback in Deuce Knight in this recruiting class, and you bring him on, and you say, hey, look, this is the guy that's the future. So we have other options if you can't figure it out and you don't pan out. Hugh Freeze in his situation, I think he's going to have a quick trigger, and he can't just keep watching this thing fail like he did the previous 2 years with Peyton Thorne. I think if Jackson Arnold doesn't get it done early, I think he has to pivot, and you got to decide, do you play your future quarterback in Deuce Knight, or do you play a veteran in Ashton Daniels? I think he goes with Deuce Knight to try to create a spark like Billy Napier did with DJ Lagway. And so he's in a tricky situation, man. You got to hope as an Auburn guy, you got to hope that Jackson Arnold pans out, because if it don't, things could get really weird, man.
Oh yeah, particularly for Hugh Freeze as a whole, because he's going to be in big trouble.
And Jackson, you want to know why he's going to be in big trouble? Because the expectations at Auburn are higher than having 5 losing seasons in a row. And Hugh has recruited well. I'll give him that. Top 10 classes are nothing to laugh about. But you've also got to get it done on Saturdays, Jackson. And it hasn't happened. And you've let both rivals off the hook already in your tenure, when you should have, in year 1, you should have beat Georgia. You had Alabama. You let them off the hook. And you got a loss to New Mexico State on your resume. You got a loss to Cal in year 2 on your resume. They just come out the other day and said they might shut the football program down. So
Yeah, and that was a Cal team that lost to a 2-win Florida State team.
exactly. So you haven't done yourself any favors. So the pressure is there, and you got to start winning on Saturdays. And there's just nothing else to say about it. It's on Hugh at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean you cannot be losing the Cal. Like, if you're losing to Baylor, you're gonna be in huge trouble. But I will say, like, I am curious about the rest of the offense, and like Ty Simpson, he's gonna be starting for
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, and Ryan Williams. It's gonna be awesome seeing him. Jam Miller's back by that time. Isaiah Horton basically heard the Tide call him because he did not want to hear about the '90s all over again from Miami. I mean, it's like that's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to Tuscaloosa. And you got Jeremy Bernard.
Yep.
You got the X factor in Brody Dalton for
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. But how you feeling about the receiving core and the running game and the tight ends for Auburn?
I'll start with tight end. We've heard a lot of positive thoughts on Preston Howard. He transferred in. He's getting it done in fall camp. I think that's a thin room. I think that's a room where you need Preston to step up and be that pass catching tight end, right? It's a room where Micah Riley Ducker transferred out. And I think that one was kind of head scratching to me, Jackson, because I thought this was his time at Auburn. He come in a couple years ago. He paid his dues. He sat, and I thought it was really strange that he transferred out. And so that one's a shocker. But when I look at wide receiver, man, I don't think you're going to see Auburn struggle at wide receiver. You go get Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech. That's a great addition. Cam Coleman really hit his stride at the end of last season. You can talk about Malcolm Simmons. I know he went through some off-the-field stuff, but that's over with. That's done. He's eligible, ready to go. I think you bring him back, and he was a guy that almost eclipsed 500 yards as a true freshman. So you've got the pieces, man. You bring in Horatio Fields from Wake Forest. You still got Perry Thompson, who was flipped from Alabama, and he rarely played last year. He was a late arrival, didn't get a spring in. So now you look at him, he's been there a full year now. So I think there's some positive vibes right there with Perry, and you've been hearing some good stuff out of him in fall camp. So I think wide receiver is going to be stacked. It's just all about who gets them the football. And so the running back room, you got Damari Alston returning, and I think he's going to be running back one, Jackson. I really do. Going into Friday night, at Baylor, I think he's going to get the first touch. You got Jeremiah Cobb. He's been banged up, hasn't played a whole lot in his time at Auburn, but he had a lot of praise coming out of high school, and you got to get him on the field this year. You got to keep him healthy, but there's a guy in Mabson, and he reclassified. He's from Auburn High School, Omar Mabson, and he come in early as a 17-year-old, and they say he's been showing out, man. They say he has been getting after it in fall camp. He's had electric runs in the scrimmages, and he is putting the pressure on this running back room. And I know they got Darrell, I think it's Darrell Robinson, or I think that's it, from Connecticut. And he transferred in, and so there's options there, but I think Damari is the guy, running back one. So the pieces are there, and I'm not asking Jackson Arnold to go out and be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I'm just asking Jackson Arnold to not make the catastrophic mistake. That's what you have, the keys to a really nice luxury vehicle because of the talent Hugh Freeze has brought in. Just don't wreck it. Don't throw the pick six with 4 minutes left against Oklahoma. And don't throw 4 interceptions against Cal. That's the things that can't happen. That's what puts you and I think, really honestly, Jackson, I think Auburn they have to fix on offense, they have to fix their red zone efficiency, because it was absolutely brutal last year. And you saw it even in the Iron Bowl. We drive the field opening possession. We drive the field. We get down there, and what do? We squander it. We end up having to kick a field goal, and we miss it. And right then and there, I could have told you, hey, we're done, man. Just pack it up, get back on the bus, get on 280, and get out of here. I mean, that's that you got to stop settling for 3, and you got to start finding 6 for the Auburn Tigers.
Well, and I will say, though, the offensive line, I mean, it's looking good for Bama, no doubt about it, because we've got our guys Parker Brailsford and Cam Dewberry, Caden Proctor. I mean, we're on preseason awards list. But what's the Auburn offensive line looking like for 2025?
Man, you bring back 3 starters. And you really got Connor Lew anchoring it down at center, and I think that's the best option to have for the Auburn Tigers for real, because I think this guy's a high draft pick. I think he's going to be a guy that gets drafted probably in the 2nd round, might fall to the 3rd, but I think he's got real pro potential. Then you got Dylan Wade. He's probably going to lock up left guard over there. That's a returning starter. And then you got Jeremiah Wright over there at right guard. So those are your 3 that are coming back. You had to address your tackle position, right? If you don't have 2 solid tackles in the Southeastern Conference, you're not going to be very good. And that is what really hampered Auburn last season, and even the year before that, is their offensive line. And I think you addressed both tackle spots, and you went out and you got Xavier Chaplin, a highly rated guy in the transfer portal from Virginia Tech. You got him at left tackle. Then you went out to USC and got Mason Murphy, man. So I think there was a little bit of a battle at right tackle with Mason Murphy and Too Tall Miller. And so I think Mason Murphy has won that battle. And so you're going to have a guy as a backup that can also slide into guard and play there with Too Tall. And so he was a 2-year starter at Auburn. So you're going to have that as a depth piece. And if Mason Murphy can't get it done, you at least have a reliable option backing him up that can come in and give Auburn some snaps. So look, it's hurt Auburn, but I think now with 3 returning starters and 2 guys that have played P4 football in respectable conferences, I think you gotta feel pretty positive with the offensive line. And like I mentioned, with Connor Lew at center really being the anchor, that's where it all starts. So I expect them to be much better. I don't think you're going to give up the sacks on 3rd down the way Auburn has in the past. I don't think it's gonna look as ugly in pass protection, because the biggest thing, they weren't awful. They weren't awful in the run game, but in the pass pro they were terrible, especially on 3rd down. And so I think if they can get that fixed, man, for 2025, I think they're going to be much improved.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what'll happen for 2025. But like, the best part about being down is the way to go is up. You're muted.
No, yeah, I can tell you this. You talking about being down, Auburn, man, we have been down for some years now. And so, I mentioned the turnovers in those games. Auburn just has to find a way to make a play late. And if you go back and watch Auburn's year in 2024, Auburn has to have guys step up and want to make plays in big-time situations. I watched you guys in that Georgia game, all right? You're blowing Georgia out, right? Georgia makes this comeback. We all knew it was coming, though. Georgia wasn't going to lay down. Kirby Smart wasn't about to get ran out of Tuscaloosa. We knew they were going to put up a fight. They come back. What happens? Milroe to Ryan Williams. You make a play, and then you turn around on defense. Carson Beck says, hey, I'm coming right back at you. And you get a pick in the end zone. And I think that's the difference there, Jackson, is Alabama made those plays to win games late. Auburn has to find guys to step up and make those plays, and I know some Auburn fans are going to be like, oh, well, Vanderbilt, well, we lost to Vanderbilt too. So that's where I stand with that. So you gotta make plays late, and you gotta win in the fourth quarter. And that's one thing I do respect, and I say it on my show all the time. I reference Nick Saban because he is the absolute go to college football. I talk about him and his strive for perfection and doing it the right way, and then getting into the fourth quarter and wearing teams down and absolutely dominating that fourth quarter. And I think that's what Auburn's got to change, man. I think they got to do that late, and they can start winning games.
Oh yeah. Well, and the defense, I'm curious about both defenses, really, because I mean, like Alabama's got Tim Keenan coming back, James Smith, got Justin Jefferson, no relation to the Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, and LT Overton's back, Damani Jackson, Deontay Lawson, Xavier Brown. I think we'll see Dijon Lee in the backfield by the time we get to Auburn. Like that's going to be fun, but. For those tuning into this video, who do we need to look out for from the Auburn Tigers on
Whew.
defense?
Man, I'll tell you this.
That doesn't sound good.
No. I think Auburn. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the hard hat of their team. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the juice of this 2025 Auburn Tigers football team. I think Keldrick Falk is a first round talent, and you better look out for him. I know Alabama fans know all about Keldrick. Out at DB, man, I think Jay Crawford coming back as a true sophomore. He stepped in last year as a true freshman and had a hell of a season. He comes back as a sophomore, man, and I think he's going to take that even next step and be great. You return guys like Kayan Lee, Caleb Harris back there at safety. Man, you go out and Auburn finally got some guys from Thompson. I want to highlight Jared Smith. I think he could be a freshman that gets on the field early. You get new boy Fagans, man. Like I watched him at the Mississippi Alabama All-Star Classic, and that cat can absolutely play. So winning those battles from Thompson High School, I think that's been big. But I think the one area, Jackson, that Auburn has to kind of worry about is at the linebacking core. They lose that Eugene Asante, that leader, that guy that stepped in and he was the voice of that defense. And who can step up in that linebacker room and make those plays and be that voice, And I think you're really looking at Robert Woodyard. I think he's got to be a leader. And you're looking at the Atkins kid from LSU who transferred in. They say he's freaky talented, and they say from sideline to sideline he can go get it. But DeMarcus Riddick is the guy. And I know the comments before the Iron Bowl last year with Milroe and all that. But this kid is an athletic freak. And that's kind of what they wanted him to do last year, was just go around, fly around, and just be a freak. But this year I'm really, really interested to see him actually learn that linebacker role and see if he can take over and be that true guy. So those are the names, man. That's just a few of them. I think Auburn they're going to be young, Jackson, but I think it's no longer young 3-star Boise, Idaho talent. It's now 4 and 5-star talent from the Southeast, and Hugh Freeze recruiting that talent. So it's no more Mr. Potato and doing the 60th ranked recruiting classes. So I'm interested to see it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what each of these defenses will bring going into the Iron Bowl. And honestly, I feel like this game, and I know it's only August, late August and all, but it's just going to be another close game in Auburn, Alabama. That's for sure.
It always is. It always is. And I think what's funny is hearing Saban say that Jordan-Hare haunted. That one always cracks me up because he knows they're like, man, what's the one place you don't want to play in the SEC? And he says, I don't want to play it in Auburn. He's like, I don't want to play in Jordan-Hare. He's like, I hate that place. It's haunted. Because he knows what happens there. Like, you remember the Bryce 99-yard drive, you remember the 2013, the Nick Marshall where he finds Sammy Coates right there with 28 seconds left, and and then everything that happened after that. Like you've seen the things, man. The overtime games where Jeremy Finley steps in and all that good stuff, and Alabama gets them, and I mean it's just the finishes are insane, man, and it's gonna be. I'll say this about the Iron Bowl this year at Jordan-Hare. I think it's gonna be a little bit more hostile than it has been in the previous years, and I know those finishes have been crazy, but Auburn's due. And I say this because Auburn had a time where they held up the thumb, and you're a loss away from getting a thumb held up on you, right? Like your Tubbs coming off the field and doing all that. Like you can't lose 6 in a row, and so Auburn is they're in a spot where you can snap the streak in Jordan-Hare, and you got to go make it happen. You can't keep having these dreadful endings where it's right there and you can't make a play. You got to go in the streak, man.
You don't want to be close but no cigar, because if you are, you're definitely in trouble for sure.
Exactly.
Man, like that's gonna be it's gonna be wild November 29th. It's just gonna be wild on ABC.
You know, I wish they would let this game happen at night. And I think it would, I was at the 2014 Iron Bowl and how great that one was in Tuscaloosa. We picked off Blake Sims 3 times in the first half, and I felt like Auburn had all the momentum. Man, you're shocking Alabama, and then all of a sudden Blake Sims comes out in the second half and he goes crazy, and Alabama puts 55 on us, and we put 44 up, but they put 55 on us, and it's just I wish they would let us play one at night, and have some fun with it, man. I think it would be even more intensity, and the stakes would be a little bit higher, and hopefully.
Oh, I know Kirk Herbstreit will be excited to hear that endorsement for sure, because he'll probably get the jump up and down, hearing it. It'll be his first time in quite a while since he's been able to call that game.
Yeah, man, and I think Auburn also needs to have a good record coming into the Iron Bowl. I think Auburn needs to be. I tell my viewers this, Jackson, is I don't expect Auburn to compete for the college football playoff every single year. I'm not asking you to do that. Now, do I want to? Yes. All right. But I also know what this conference holds, right? You got Texas, you got Oklahoma now, LSU, the thickness of Florida and Tennessee. And I mean, there's just so much, right? So I just need you to be in the conversation again, right? Like, get back to winning 9 games and hovering around the playoff talk. And then once you actually get into this 12-team playoff, then I'll say, hey, okay, now we need to start making this thing every so often. We don't have to make it every year, but at least make an appearance once every 3 years. I'd take that. I'm not asking you to go on the run that Alabama did. I'm not asking you to do that. I want you to be competitive, though, and I want you to get back into that conversation and stop letting Alabama and Georgia beat up on you so much, because that's not the Auburn that that's not the Auburn that I want to see.
You don't want that.
No, at all.
But I will say, for me, this kind of leans towards an either or game. This could be a Bama win, or it could be an Auburn upset.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this about how I feel about Alabama. I think defense is going to be phenomenal. I think what you return there, I think the defense is going to be just loaded. All right. And I think LT Overton is phenomenal. I think he's a hell of a player. I think if Ty Simpson, me and Josh did the quarterback ratings on the SEC show the other night. And I just said Ty Simpson, kind of like Jackson Arnold. You got the keys to a luxury car. Don't wreck it, man. Just take me back to a game manager quarterback like people give Greg all. I mean, they give it to him, man. They give some Alabama fans, they get after Greg, but McElroy, man, he never made the dreadful mistake. And when it come time, he was making the drive to put Alabama in championship contention. And so I just need you, like Alabama fans just need you to be that guy, man. Just don't go out there and cost Alabama games, because you're going to go back to old school Alabama football this year. And I think you're going to, I think Ryan Grubb, I know they want to air it out and they want to do all that stuff, but man, I think Alabama's got to get back to hard nose, run the football, and get after it in them trenches. And I was at the Tennessee game last year, Jackson, and watching Alabama 1st and goal on the 4-yard line throw a fade to Ryan Williams, that's not Alabama football, brother. That's not Alabama football. Jam Miller, I know he's out right now. Hoping that he gets back and he's healthy and all that good. I don't wish injury on a soul, man. I hope he gets back, but I know y'all are deep in that running back room, and I think Florida State, they're going to feel Alabama, and I truly believe that. And I think that spread being at 13 and a half, it's diabolical if you don't take Alabama to absolutely wax them. I think Alabama is going. I think they're going on a mission. And so I'm excited to see them play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see Richard Young and Daniel Hill and Dre Washington just come in and just terrorize that Florida State defense.
I think with that game, Jackson, I just don't know if Florida State has the horses, man. I don't know if they have the talent to stay with Alabama. And I think Alabama, it might be close for the first half, but I think Alabama eventually just wears them down. I think they get to Castellanos, and I think it could get ugly in that second half. I really do.
Oh, man, it's going to be extremely ugly because all they focused on is we're going to leave the ACC. Like, really? That's all you're thinking about? Okay. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Man, Florida State's going through it right now, brother.
They always go through something. That's the thing. Well, all right, Blake. What have you got going on in your world, good buddy?
Man, follow me over at Auburn Primetime Live, and I'm the co-host at SEC Primetime Live. Follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at BLane1526. Come over there and hop in the Auburn channel and let's talk ball, man. I promise I'm not one of those Auburn fans that's orange and blue goggles 24/7. I'll hit you with it straight and tell you how I feel about everybody in the country, including the Alabama Crimson Tide, man. Hey, I tell you this, Jackson, it's an intense rivalry, but like I said, man, I think there's also a respect factor there, and the mutual respect between the two is. I know we get crazy sometimes, and we talk crazy in the rivalry, but I also think it's there, and we respect each other. So, war damn eagle, brother.
There you go, and you got a roll tide roll from me. And of course, you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979 on my personal YouTube channel, where I host my show, The Jacksonian. 318 subs away from that magic number 1,000. And of course, for more updates on what I've got going on Alabama with the Voice College Football, or the Jacksonian, or Pitt's Analysis and File Whistle with Sports Talk with Austin, check me out on Jats BOCFB on X/Twitter, and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908, where I also call on the Paul Feinbaum Show once a week, where the weekends are full of surprises. And with that being said, like, comment, subscribe to Auburn at the Voice College Football and Alabama at the Voice College Football, so you never miss another video or another episode from either channel whatsoever. And we will see you soon. And roll tide.